I'm Jeremy Wade, biologist and monster wrangler. I've spent the last 25 years travelling the globe bringing in these giants.
There it is! Look at that for a fish!
Much of this time was in Brazil, where I've caught many monsters before.
Red belly piranha.
I'm back to investigate a new story about a triple homicide.
And the people who fell in the water actually disappeared.
This is like no creature I've tackled before.
But this thing is different. It has invisible powers.
Chasing this monster takes me into the heart of Brazil's rugged frontier, where people fear for my life.
He says it will kill you, no two ways about it.
And it leads to possibly the strangest monster catch of my career. I've chased river monsters all over the world, but I've always considered Brazil my second home.
There's the fish! There's the fish!
This is where I've done most of my fishing.
Look at this!
Catching all manner of freshwater killers. I've been drawn back by a chilling story about the death of a group of cowboys. I've heard of a river monster taking an individual before, but never 3 people at once. This is a new killer for me. My journey begins in Brazil's Wild West. Pará State is cowboy country and outsiders rarely visit. But I'm on my way to meet an eyewitness to the cowboys' deaths. I'm travelling by boat along the Tocantins River so I can start fishing immediately and see what killers are in this area. During the wet season, this river is connected to the place where the cowboys died, so the monster could have escaped into these waters. I don't know yet what could be down there, so I have to be prepared for anything.
Just going to use a short sea fishing boat rod. This is gear that would hold a fish of 100 pounds, but it would also pick up something that might be just 1 or 2 pounds. So a sort of compromise fishing gear for, just general purpose fishing. I don't really know what I'm likely to encounter down there. This is actually a fish I bought down the market this morning. It's just a tasty, scaly fish. I'm just going to cut the tail off and use that, I think. It's a big river, this, and so what you're not doing is casting at random, because the fish won't be distributed at random. But what we've got here is quite turbulent, and it's also moving back on itself near the bank, so it's the kind of place where food coming down the river would settle, and that's going to cause the small fish to congregate and then right on up the food chain. Pumping the bottom.
It's not long before I get my first bite.
Oh, there you go. I think something's nibbling that. Yep. That's a piranha. It's a black piranha.
The black piranha is the largest of the piranha family, growing up to 1.5 feet long. A mouth full of razor-sharp teeth has given piranhas a fearsome reputation, and it's well earned. 2 years ago, I found a story about a young boy who was devoured by piranhas in front of his grandparents. All they got in was bones. It's unlikely that piranhas would have killed all 3 cowboys, but I know from experience that you've got to keep an open mind. Only eliminating a suspect after you've heard all the evidence, which is why I'm meeting a witness tomorrow. Before I track him down, I'll see what other potential suspects are here. It must be a predator's paradise down there. Within minutes, something else has grabbed my bait.
Ooh.
This feels much bigger than a black piranha.
Gosh, this is strong. This is strong. It's rising up in the water. There it is. Oh, it's a ray. It's a ray. The size of that.
This is the first spotted river ray I've ever caught. I've come across stingrays before. In Thailand, I've seen how they can seriously injure people. I want to take a closer look, but I'm not sure how to safely haul it into the boat.
My worry with this fish is getting too close to it. Oh,
Its tail has a venomous spike 5 inches long, which could whip round and stab me as I pull it in. Taking it to shore and pulling it onto the bank is the best option. On close inspection, I'm reminded that this can kill as well.
That spine there, very dangerous. It's just like a knife, 5 inches long. That would go in your flesh very easily, be very painful. And actually, if that's in the wrong part of your body, that could puncture an artery, that could be fatal. And these here, look at those, they don't look very nice either.
Like piranha, this is an unlikely suspect for killing 3 people at the same time. But I'll need to hear the witness's account before I can take it off the list. I've arranged to meet him near where the deaths occurred, just outside the small town of El Dorado. For the last leg of my journey, I leave the boat behind and drive cross-country. I'm comfortable in the Brazilian rainforest, but this area is unfamiliar to me, and I'm not sure what to expect. The whole area was cleared decades ago by ranchers and gold prospectors. All the wild animals were chased out or killed, making it safe for livestock and humans. But it seems that a deadly water predator has managed to cling on. The cowboys' deaths are still raw in the minds of many, and I've been refused access to where they died. I meet the witness, Reginaldo, at a nearby farm instead.
Okay.
He tells me that it happened during the wet season, when the pastures were flooded. A mule had become stuck in the water. Reginaldo and 5 other cowboys tried to rescue it.
What they had to do was actually sort of go in and just try and pull the animal out.
The first 3 cowboys went into the water. Reginaldo and the others hung back. As the first horses got up to their bellies, something startled them. All 3 cowboys were thrown into the water. The others immediately got out, before it was too late.
No, I just asked why he didn't just jump straight in to try and help them, and he said something told me there was something in the water, it wasn't safe. Didn't want to be number 4, the 4th victim. People who fell in the water actually disappeared, and we're talking water that was, it sounds like 3 or 4 feet deep.
Hoje eu não esqueço, quando eu falo nisso assim, eu fico assim até meio emocionado, eu não gosto nem estar, sabe?
No, I asked him what that leaves him feeling like. This was 6 years ago that it happened, and he said it's left this sort of a lingering sadness from having lost his colleagues.
Reginaldo's story helps me eliminate some potential suspects. Piranhas can definitely be taken off the list. When piranhas attack, it's an unmistakable feeding frenzy, with the water looking as though it's boiling. But Reginaldo saw only a calm surface.
nas margens, onde os cavalos...
Also, from Reginaldo's account, stingrays can be struck off the list. If the cowboys had been fatally stabbed by rays, there would have been huge amounts of blood in the water, which he didn't see. Reginaldo has his own theory about the killer's identity. He's given me the name of a terrifying new suspect for the cowboy killer, a creature I've heard about but never encountered. The electric eel.
No, he says, although he didn't actually see anything, I mean, he is pretty certain that, this was electric eels that caused these 3 men to die.
I have a prime suspect, a monster said to have mythical powers, and one I always feared I might encounter. Now I have to try to catch one. Known locally as poraqué, the electric eel isn't actually an eel at all. It's a member of the knife fish family. They can be found throughout the Amazon and Orinoco river basins. They can grow to over 8 feet long and deliver a charge that's enough to light up a house. But is this enough to shock a human being to death? I've heard stories about electric eels killing people before, but they've never been proven. I've also heard of murderers blaming electric eels to cover their misdeeds. But could an eel really kill 3 people at one time? I have my doubts. There are many other animals in these waters that are documented killers, such as anacondas and caimans. Victims of these predators bear the telltale marks of bites or strangulation, clues that help identify the culprit. A victim of electrocution would have no such marks. My job now is to find out what state the cowboys' corpses were in when they were recovered. To do this, Reginaldo has put me in contact with a man called Hermes.
Oh, bom dia. So, Jeremy. Oh.
He discovered the bodies the next day.
E aí nós fomos lá para ajudar.
He tells me that the grim search for the 3 bodies started where the cowboys disappeared.
Foi muita gente para procurar e pediu a gente que a gente tinha canoa, eu e meu irmão, né?
They actually got boats with motors in the water and they were driving those around to create a disturbance.
The wash from the propellers would churn up anything lying below the surface.
De dente, não tinha nada de dente, nada de...
There were no bite marks or anything like that on the bodies.
Having no bites is in line with the prime suspect being an electric eel.
Estavam, tipo assim,
And Hermes has one final revelation about the recovered bodies.
All 3 had their hands clenched, and inside the hands were sort of weed or grass from the bottom of the water.
Clenched hands are a telltale clue. When a person receives a large electric shock, the body's muscles begin to spasm, which could explain why the cowboys died with their hands clenched. This is all strong evidence that an electric eel might be responsible for the cowboys' deaths. But I wonder how much real proof I'm going to find. I've got to catch one and see for myself what these fish are capable of. Normally I can see what I'm up against: massive teeth, cavernous mouths and tails that can fatally stab you. The electric eel's invisible powers make it unlike any fish I've gone after before. I'm hoping to gain some local knowledge at the town's fish market. The people here are those most likely to have come up against them. Everywhere I look are toothy, dangerous fish, but electric eels aren't on the menu.
Fishermen don't fish for them, and the reason they don't fish for them is that they say the shock is very powerful. And when I asked, well, how would I fish for one? He said, actually, I don't know. I mean, nobody, this thing gives a shot that can kill you. Nobody fishes for it. Nobody actually, well, he can't tell me how I'd actually go about that. He says, the actual shock, the severity of it is like putting your fingers into a power socket in your house. In fact, he says he would rather put his fingers in the power socket than touch one of these fish.
Electric eels, or poraqué, have been striking fear into people's hearts since long before Europeans arrived in the 16th century. Before electricity was understood, Brazil's indigenous Tupi people told of a warrior who carelessly dropped a lightning bolt on an eel, giving the fish its mysterious power. In reality, it's the eel's specially adapted muscles that generate the large shocks. But does this electricity kill somebody outright, or do they drown after being paralyzed? When I tell people about my mission to catch one, they're in no doubt about what will happen to me, one way or the other.
He says it will kill you, no two ways about it. No, don't mess with it, basically, don't mess with it. What I said, is it strong enough to kill? He said, yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. It's looking like it could be a bit of a mission.
I would normally try to apprehend my suspect at the scene of the crime. But quite apart from the ranch owner's sensitivities, I'm here at the height of the dry season. The water levels have dropped, and the spot where the cowboys died is now just pasture. All the fish are now concentrated in the remaining water, in theory making them easier to find. It's possible that the monster could have moved into the nearest big river, the Araguaia. One thing is playing on my mind. Since nobody fishes for electric eels, I haven't been able to get any advice on how to catch them. I've been warned they're elusive and tend to show up when least expected. One of the few accounts I've come across of electric eels being caught is from the 19th century, when explorer Alexander von Humboldt wanted one for some experiments. His method was to force some horses into a lake that was infested with them. He assumed they would use up all their electricity shocking the horses, leaving him free to pick them up afterwards without getting harmed. After 2 minutes, 2 horses were already dead. When Humboldt thought the eels had discharged all their electricity, he waded in to pick one up. At that point, he didn't know that they're capable of shocking for over an hour, and he received a very nasty jolt. All I can realistically do is put a bait in the water and hope an electric eel takes it before something else does.
The thing is, there's loads of predators in these waters, so I've got a bait on the bottom here, but there's lots of other species that could pick it up. There's no way really to single out the electric eel. I know I'm doing the right thing to catch one, but something else could beat it to the bait.
Because I don't want to get a nasty shock when I catch an electric eel, I'm taking some precautions. The nylon line I'm using won't conduct electricity, so I'll be safe while bringing it in. Then, once I get it to the boat, I have a thick pair of rubber boots and gloves, which means I'll be able to handle it without getting shocked. We've attracted a pod of Amazon River dolphins.
You might think that they're going to take a nice tasty dead fish
but actually they have this echolocation ability, which is a bit like X-ray vision, and they know that there's a hook there and they won't take it.
But there's something big down there that hasn't sensed the hook.
Good size fish, good size fish.
Is this the electric eel I've been looking for? Whatever it is, it's putting up a powerful fight.
I don't think this is an electric eel. It's too strong.
The back 4/5 of an electric eel's body is mostly used to produce electricity. It doesn't have the muscle to put up a struggle like this.
Oh yeah, see those bubbles coming up? That's a big red-tailed catfish, big red-tailed catfish.
Out of the water, it gulps in air, blowing it out through its gill flaps.
Got it. This is what they call a pirarara here, which is, well, in English we call it red-tailed catfish, very, very obvious reason. And, I mean, just a wonderful coloration it's got as well. Dark back, this very clear line between the dark and the light. This mottling of brown spots as well. Very strong fish, but it tends to not have the stamina. But, I mean, another thing to remark about this fish, it's about a third of the body is head, huge head. Very capacious mouth. It's got loads of small teeth, so that's really just for gripping. If it gets a fish that it can't totally inhale all at once, oops, with the muscular jaw and those teeth, you know, it's not going to get away. Look at this. This river is just full of predators. There's a big chunk of fin missing there.
I get the fish back in the water so it can recover before I let it go.
But this proves my point, what I was saying earlier on. You throw a bit of dead fish in this river and there's anything that could take it. You know, it could be an electric eel, that's what I was hoping for, but you know, it could just as likely be one of these red-tailed catfish.
That was a great catch, but unfortunately it's not the fish I'm after. I need to find out more about electric eels, anything about them which may help me catch one. I'm meeting up with a fish expert from the University of Pará, Dr. Jonathan Reddy. He has a couple of specimens in a tank, so I can get my first proper look at an electric eel.
These fish are using their electric capability all the time. They're constantly sending out little pulses.
Smaller eels like these deliver a less powerful shock than the larger ones, but they can still pack a punch. Wearing protective rubber gloves, Jonathan shows me this by hooking one up to a bank of LEDs. It lights them up using muscles that have been modified into thousands of special cells, which work in a similar way to AA batteries. Each individual cell generates around 1/10 of a volt, but when they all fire together, a large pulse is produced. It uses this high voltage to shock prey and for defense.
So this voltage is, just for a very short while, 400, 500 volts. The bigger eels, then they're known to be up to 600 volts, maybe even above.
That's almost the same as the voltage produced by a heart defibrillator. Electric eels also generate a low energy pulse of around 10 volts, which they use to survey their surroundings, helping to compensate for their poor eyesight. It can see, even in muddy water, by using its electroreceptors to detect distortions in its electrical field. A pulse is emitted every few seconds, and these can be picked up by placing electrodes in the water and amplifying the signal.
There you see a wave of signals as they try and work out what's going on.
So my finger in there wouldn't feel this, it's only...
You wouldn't feel this.
Small, orienting pulses are harmless. But the bigger shocks are up to 65 times more powerful and can travel through water.
When they're about to stun something, do you get much
Yeah.
warning if they're going to do that? Do I hear a...
You will get some kind of warning, but it might not be too much for you to react in time. There you go. No problems.
No shock this time. I'm hoping this equipment will help me locate them in the wild. Electric eels are proving to be very elusive, and rivers have too many places to hide. So I'm changing my tactics.
This river goes up and down a lot during the course of a year, and I'm actually here right at the bottom of the dry season, and in fact on the rocks it's possible to see the high water mark, which is about 10 or 15 feet up on what it is now. But what this means is that this time of the year a lot of bits of water in the floodplain, which are normally connected to the river, become isolated, become separated. So we've got separate lakes, and people have been saying actually rather than the river, that's where you should be looking. The trouble is getting in there. Normally you could take your boat in, but in the dry season they're going to have to find a way to drag the boat to the water.
A farmer called Milton gives me and my boat a lift. He knows the perfect place where eels could be trapped. It's 3 miles inland from the Araguaia. Electric eels come up for air every 10 to 15 minutes. They get 80% of their oxygen by absorbing it through blood vessels in the mouth. If I pick up a signal and wait, I'll know I'm in the right position to spot one when it comes up to breathe.
Well, there was something just surfaced, made some rings just by that bit of wood there, which could have been an electric eel coming up for air.
I'm not hearing anything. I've swept the entire lake with no success.
Well, this equipment worked very well in the tank, but it's not really picking up anything here that I can recognise as being definitely electric eel. So I think I'm going to return to doing what I know best, and that is getting a line in the water.
Next to the lake is a small pond. Milton tells me it's full of a toothy fish called triera, which he says is good for bait. He gives me a bamboo rod to catch them as the locals do.
Most fishing, you're being quite stealthy. You're creeping up, you're putting the bait in the water quietly. Triera are very inquisitive. They lie in shallow water, and if they hear a sound, rather than head in the opposite direction, they actually come and investigate. That's a triera. Those teeth are probably almost as vicious as the piranhas. There's a bit gap-toothed, but those teeth are very sharp. That's a start towards getting some bait.
Unlike electric eels, triera are proving incredibly easy to catch.
They're also very slippery. It's like a bar of soap with teeth. Oh!
Progress stops when my hook gets caught on an underwater branch. I'm not prepared for what I find at the end of my snagged line. I leap out of the water because I think I've just stumbled across one of these deadly creatures.
Here. Here.
But it's a case of mistaken identity.
That's actually not an electric eel, that is an eel.
This is a musum. It may look like a true eel, but it is in fact another elongated fish.
For a moment there, I was worried. I saw this long snake-like thing on the line, and I wasn't hanging around to have a closer look. I was out of the water. If this was an electric eel this size, that could be potentially fatal.
Strange sort of admission to make. I'm actually glad that wasn't the fish that I was after.
I'm not having much luck catching an electric eel. It's proving far harder to find than I expected. But I've gotten word of another attack, and I'm heading out to investigate. It happened in 2007 on a farm near Villanova, where a 21-year-old farm worker called Francisco died in a small pond. I've travelled there to meet up with his friend Fernando, the only witness to Francisco's last moments.
Ficou só ele em casa. Eu tava só com uns 15 dias que tinha chegado lá, que tinha conhecido ele.
Francisco had only been working at the farm for 2 weeks when he decided to go fishing in a nearby pond.
Vamos, bora entrar?
Perigoso aí. Não, não vou entrar não. Tu entra
Não,
aí.
vamos.
Fernando warned him about the electric eels he'd seen there, but Francisco carried on anyway.
They were fishing with a sort of basket. You go in the water and you run this along the bottom of the pond, and then you see if you've got any fish in the basket.
Da água assim, o corpo dele tava todo fora. Ele tava com isso assim dentro da água.
And he said, you know, they tried a couple of times, hadn't caught anything. Fernando was staying on the bank. He didn't want to get in the water.
On the third scoop of the basket, Francisco disappeared.
And so what he did, he ran for help, came back with 2 other people, and when they got there, there was no sign of anybody, no sign of Francisco.
They started searching for his body by dragging a wooden hoe through the water.
O corpo do porco era...
Tava enrolado nele.
Eventually, Francisco's body rose to the surface, with a macabre addition.
Levou choque na mão também. Depois...
The body of the eel was wrapped round the boy's body. Only when it was pulled right into the shallows did it actually then disappear back into the water. Now, Fernando say that, like me, you know, he'd heard stories that this is a fish that's capable of killing people, but he didn't really believe that, hadn't heard anything very definite. And so when he saw what actually did happen, he said he almost didn't believe it. I've never heard of a situation of someone being killed by a fish in such a small volume of water. But the other thing that really struck me was that, unlike the case of the 3 cowboys who were killed, I mean, here there was absolutely no doubt what animal was responsible. There was a 100% positive ID. You know, this was an electric eel that killed Francisco.
Finally, clear evidence of an electric eel causing a human death. What I don't know, though, is whether victims drown after being shocked or die from electrocution. I've tracked down Dr. Ivo Panovich, the pathologist who performed Francisco's autopsy.
De matar ser humano é capaz mesmo?
Eu creio que sim. Eu creio que sim.
So I just asked Dr. Panovich, you know, simple question, is the electric eel capable of killing a human being? And the answer, a very clear yes.
He goes on to tell me exactly how Francisco died.
A condução de energia.
It sounds like it was actually the heart was stopped. So instead of actually contracting strongly to circulate the blood, it had gone into some kind of fibrillation. In that kind of situation, you know, drowning is almost secondary. The immediate cause of the death was the electricity of the fish.
This is exactly the evidence I've been searching for, that electric eels can kill a person outright. Now there's only one thing left to do: catch the culprit, without ending up on Dr. Ivo's slab. The locals tell me electric eels lurk here. I'm wearing my protective rubber boots and the rubber gloves are on standby in case I catch one.
Just seen something surface.
I've also ditched my carbon fibre rod in favour of a bamboo pole. Perfect for small ponds like this, and with the added advantage that it won't conduct electricity.
It's actually a very spooky place to fish, and just putting the sort of finishing touch on that is that sound in the background. I mean, if you didn't know what that was, I think you might well just pack up and go home. In fact, it's howler monkeys. Very weird, frightening sound. This Triera, oops.
Once again, aggressive Triera are proving no problem to catch.
I actually thought that might have been an electric eel because the take was not characteristic of Triera. Triera normally it's a very sort of jagged, quick take. That was quite fiddly and the line going out slowly, so I thought that might have been an electric eel, but another Triera.
I'm becoming increasingly frustrated. Because the final question still lingers. Is one eel capable of killing 3 men? Little is known about electric eel behaviour, so just seeing one in the wild, never mind catching one, might help me answer this last question.
I know now that this is an animal that's capable of killing people, it's got nothing to fear from other animals, and at times it certainly seems to be pretty bold, but, you know, where are they? I think, you know, I've got to give this some real serious thought about what I do now if I'm actually to succeed in catching one of these things.
The electric eel's elusiveness isn't the only thing going against me. It was on a night like this when, according to Tupi legend, the ancestral electric eel received its heaven-sent powers, when a lightning bolt was dropped on it. But the rain that's falling for the first time in months is about to make my job much harder. Soon the eels will no longer be concentrated in the shallow, dry season ponds.
I was getting close, but with this, you know, it could mean that my window of opportunity is rapidly closing. It could actually be too late. This could ruin it. This could mean that I actually don't find my electric eel.
The water is rising, and all the small ponds and waterways are starting to link up again, allowing the eels to disperse. This makes an already elusive creature nearly impossible to find. My best option is to travel east, to where the rains haven't yet hit. I head for a village where I've heard a story about a young boy dying in the same way as Francisco, meaning there must be electric eels there. On arriving, I find out that a dog was shocked just an hour ago in a nearby pond. This could be my chance to see an electric eel in the wild.
There's one here.
I'm too late. People from the village have killed it.
I mean, it's never nice to see an animal that's been killed. You know, this one's got a machete cut halfway through its body.
It's amazing that such a small volume of water could harbour a lethal electric eel 6 feet long.
So the dog was shocked somewhere down the far end, and apparently it was sort of struggling, swimming up towards this end, and there was a lad here who was able to pull it out of the water. Then, you know, went and got help, and basically, you know, they wanted this thing out of here. Although it's a bit disturbing, you can understand why they want to do this. This animal can kill you, so best to take no chances and kill it before it kills you.
Sorry, they're just saying there's another one in there. And in fact, I thought I saw other ripples myself of a big animal. They want to make sure this water is empty of electric eels. So they start to drain the pond by hand. It's interesting, a lot of the places where I go, where people live next to dangerous fish, they have a sort of an attitude of coexistence. They don't have the idea that they've got to go out and try and kill them all. This is an animal they are very afraid of, and they just don't want them here. If there's any chance of getting rid of them, you know, they will do what they can to get rid of them. As the water level gets lower, the tension starts to rise. The eel is now in only a few inches of water, but it's still proving elusive. You know, I'd been hearing that you can get very large animals living in small amounts of water, and this is a very small bit of water. So, although this time I was too late, you know, I think this is the kind of place possibly where I'm going to find an eel for myself still alive. They're so desperate to get rid of it that they risk getting electrocuted themselves. Right, he thinks there's actually one down here. He got a bit of a shock poking the machete down into this hole here. When the electric eel finally reveals itself, it's killed without any hesitation. This time, it's only 4 foot long. It's no surprise that I've had such a hard time finding an electric eel. It's taken 20 people a couple of hours to find just one in here. I travel further east, ahead of the rains. I fish as I go, but I'm still catching everything but an electric eel. This is a thing called a fidalgo. It's a type of catfish. Not an electric eel. My last hope is an area just southwest of Marabá, where it's still tinder dry and fires are burning everywhere. The water here is at its absolute lowest. And at daybreak, I'll have the best chance I'm going to get before the rains sweep in. After asking around, I get a promising lead about a tiny pool right in the middle of cattle pasture. It's more like a mud puddle. The last place I'd expect to find a river monster. Finally, after 10 days of searching, a giant electric eel is right in front of me. Does that look like just one of these branches, one of these roots? That is an electric eel. It's a big one. Now I've got to work up the nerve to catch it. I'm just making a bit of a trench. From my point of view, it'll be easier to handle if there's some kind of sort of notch that it's in rather than it's being able to slip and slide all over the place. My normal capture method would be useless in water this shallow, so out goes the rod and in comes a lasso, fitting for cowboy country. Because electric eels don't rely on physical strength, pulling it out of the water shouldn't be that hard. But not getting shocked will be. So protective clothing is essential. We've got a plan. The plan is not so much to sort of go after the head with the noose, but to position that and then get it to go through the noose. Just taking a few deep breaths because one slip and it could be very nasty indeed. Need to be so focused and so careful about this. An eel this size can deliver a shock of 650 volts. That's enough to stop my heart in seconds. First go, amazing, first go. Electric eels can keep on shocking out of water, but the rubber gloves we're wearing protect us from this.
Oh, look at the colours on this thing. These are wonderful. I've got to give it a clean. That is, it's doing a sort of, it looks like a muscle contraction, spasm almost. That's when it's actually shocking.
Because electric eels get most of their oxygen from breathing air, they can stay out of water for long periods of time.
That's 5'10½". That's pretty much exactly the same as me.
This is exactly the same size as the eel that killed Francisco, the 21-year-old man who died in the tiny pond near Villanova. If I wasn't wearing these rubber gloves, I could be dead too. It's over 100 degrees and I don't want the fish to overheat, so time it went back in the water. The pond may be shallow at the moment, but the rains are not far behind me. The waters will soon rise, giving this eel the freedom to roam once again.
My search led me to this tiny drying out puddle. I mean, the water in there is barely 6 inches deep. It's the last place you'd expect to find a river monster, but that's where it was. There's more, there's more, there's more. There's not just this big one. There's, again, it looks like wood, but it started moving. We were watching it, and it looks like there's actually several, but smaller, right in with these roots here. I've just never seen anything like this before. It's like a tangle of bodies. I'm just trying to count the heads. The more I look, the more I see. I was thinking 10 or a dozen. I think there could be 20 down here.
This is an incredible discovery and answers the final question about how the cowboys died. I believe a group of electric eels like this was trapped in a pool over the dry season. When the rains came, the water levels got higher until the eels could all leave into the swelling waterways. It was in these waterways where the trio of unlucky cowboys came across them, after their startled horses threw them into the water. Each one of these eels could deliver a fatal shock, so a group of 20 would easily be capable of killing the cowboys. This journey has once again proved to me that there's no end to lethal river monsters, and that they can be found anywhere. Who knows where I'll find one next? At last, I've got past the piranhas, catfish and dorado, but the creature on the end of my line might be twice my size, and it isn't going to give itself up easily.